to the Dan Show, starring Dan Whalen.
Hey guys, welcome back to my show where we talk about all things movies, TV shows, and cigars. And today we're going to be talking about something that is strictly just like made from my childhood. I mean, I grew up loving this franchise. I still love this franchise. And it doesn't matter how many times I watch it, I still end up loving it more and more and more. And in this franchise, like, I mean, they had some flaws, but I still ended up loving the movies anyway. Like, I could critique them all day, but you know what, man? And, like, I feel like everyone's on the same boat with me. We're going to be talking about Star Wars and the Phantom Menace. Now, I know there's like a million, like a ton of, movies in this franchise. But I'm going to start from pretty much number one. I know they did it backwards for some reason. I know it started with 4, 5, and 6, and then they did 1, 2, 3 later. Don't know why they did that. Don't care why they did that. They did it anyway. But the movie still ended up being awesome. But we're going to be talking about the Phantom Menace today. Before we get started, if you could please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, definitely helps me out. And stay tuned for more videos. So, this movie for some reason is like a hit or miss with a lot of people. I don't know why. I thought it was awesome. I actually kind of liked that the first 3 movies we're going to be talking about, like we're going to go in order, of course. I like that the Jedi are still kind of around. Like I liked that the Jedi were present in the first 3 movies. But everybody knows who Obi-Wan Kenobi is. Like he's young in this movie. He's like literally still a Padawan, or he's still like an apprentice, or just like under Qui-Gon Jinn. Which Qui-Gon, oh my god, Qui-Gon I think is like the coolest character in this movie, and I like him because he's a good guy, but he does whatever he wants. Like he doesn't really follow the Jedi rules, and you'll learn more about him. He kind of like he's kind of like you'll know what I'm talking about when I get to like the pod racing with Anakin Skywalker. Which, if you don't know who Anakin Skywalker is at this point, what are you doing in your life? Like everyone should know who that is. But anyway, so yeah, it pretty much starts with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon entering this Viceroy ship. The Viceroy, I guess, are working for the Emperor, which everybody should know about him by now. All about that, whatever. But like, I don't know, like this movie is definitely just like the coolest way to revamp the Star Wars series. Because again, for some reason in the 70s they did 4, 5, and 6. 70s and 80s they did 4, 5, and 6, and then years later, almost like 20 years later, they decided to do 1, 2, and 3. And I love this movie. Like, this movie kicked ass. Like, it was so good. Watch out for Jar Jar. Jar Jar is kind of the most annoying thing you've ever seen. And if you know, like, I don't even think it's a conspiracy. I think it was actually almost a thing where they almost made Jar Jar a Sith Lord, which, nah, dude. Like, I can't see it. Like, I cannot see Misaka Jar Jar. I can't see him being a Sith Lord at fucking all. But it is what it is. Life goes on. Whatever. But this movie's cool because it introduces a young Anakin Skywalker. Which, spoiler alert, if you don't know by now, he's Darth Vader. Okay, like he's Darth Vader. This little kid, ends up being Darth Vader. And I remember being really little. I want to say I was like 4 or 5 years old when the first time I saw this movie. And I remember my mom leaned in, she's like, that's Darth Vader, right? And I was like, oops, whatever. But like, anyway, we're gonna kind of go into like the story a little bit here. So pretty much the problem is, there's a planet called Naboo, and they have like this trade federation, that's kind of like overthrowing the planet. And the Jedi have to pretty much take care of the Queen. They take the Queen to this city planet called Coruscant, which is kind of, oh my god, I'd lose my mind here. Like, I don't think there's even a tree there. Like, I would lose it. Like, I cannot be in like a city or a planet even that's a whole entire city. I'd lose my mind. But all in all, like, you see all the flying cars, you see everything like that, and it's kind of a cool thing. And they're pretty much just trying to figure out how to get Naboo back, which is the planet that the Queen kind of takes over, or that she's in charge of, whatever. But a lot of action in this movie, a lot of wars. Like, the droids are kind of dumb, but like when you actually get to the Gungan, which is what Jar Jar thinks is like race is, when you see like the Gungan and the droid war, I love that scene. That whole scene is awesome. The whole fight is cool. Like, I don't get what the little balls were, but like all in all, like it was a cool fight scene. It was a cool concept. Like, it was kind of just like the hold off the army while the Jedi, which would be Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and all the other soldiers that are trying to protect the Queen, just kind of like do their thing, and they're just trying to pretty much stop the Viceroy from invading the planet. That's essentially kind of what it is. I'm gonna bring up a character that I absolutely adore, who I just did not think got enough screen time in any of the Star Wars movies at all. I love Darth Maul. Darth Maul is so cool. He's kind of like he's the Sith Lord under Lord Palpatine or Lord Sidious, which, you know, like I said, again, it's been X amount of years, guys. If you don't know anything about Star Wars, you've been living under a rock your entire life. Like, come on, get with the program. But like, Darth Maul is a really, really cool character. He's definitely one of my favorites. I love the dual lightsaber, like the dual blades. I think that's awesome. The fight choreography between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul is like a 12 out of 10. And I think the guy who played Darth Maul is Ray Park. And, you know, if you don't know him, he's like a martial artist, like choreography, you know, flipping, acrobatic, just badass. Like, the dude's kind of cool. He also played Toad in X-Men, which I don't know if I'm going to be talking about X-Men at all, because I don't know the direction of the X-Men movies in the future, but we'll deal with that later. But all in all, like, Ray Park is pretty damn cool. He's a cool actor. He's a cool guy in real life, too. And all in all, the guy knows how to flip and flop and go left and right, all that cool stuff, whatever. But the fight choreography in this movie kicks butt. All in all, like, just some of the weird gadgets that Star Wars has is crazy. You know, I think this is actually the last movie that they decided to make, what's his name, Yoda, a puppet. But then they revamped it, like, they actually remastered these Star Wars movies to make them more modern. And then I think in the modern ones, you know, like, after they remastered, they made Yoda CGI, which is like, alright, well, we're getting with the times, I guess, you know, like, whatever. And honestly, the CGI of Yoda is not the worst I've ever seen, ever. I actually think the CGI in all the movies is actually pretty good. Even the back in the day, like the 70s and 80s ones is really, like, practical effects, you know, some kind of, like, effects here and there. They did not look terrible for what they had. And these movies are just, they're just a classic. Like, they are, like, timeless. They will not get old. You know, and honestly, they kind of really can't redo them. They just kind of add more and more onto them. See, I didn't care much for Boba Fett. I kind of liked The Mandalorian. I thought The Mandalorian was kind of good. I haven't watched Endor. I haven't watched anything like that. Leave in the comment section, you know, what you thought of, like, pretty much leave in the comment section what you thought of the whole franchise. I pretty much liked all the way up from 1 to 9, and I even liked Rogue One. Even the Solo movie wasn't that bad. You know, like I said, we got a lot of Star Wars to cover. Like, I actually am kind of excited that we're diving into this. And again, we're gonna go one at a time. But yeah, no, like, I really liked The Phantom Menace. I thought The Phantom Menace was good. Me and my friends, we binge them all the time, because why not? You know, they just don't get old. And these movies are just amazing. Like, I mean, every single one of them. And like I said, I like that the Jedi are still around. You know, like, there's just a bunch of them, and they're kind of, like, out to just do the right thing. You know, until we get to a certain order, you know, 66, that just kind of takes everything out. We'll get to that in a different video. But, all in all, like, I love The Phantom Menace. If I had to rate it, I'd give it probably, if I'm being completely real, I'd say like a 7.5, maybe like an 8. And you know what, I might get heat for that, because I know there's like 50-50 on this movie. Some people thought this movie was garbage. Other people like me thought it was really good. And I don't know, I thought it was like the perfect revamp of a 20-year franchise that, like, you know, like, needed to continue. Like, it was almost like the prequel to what was already made, clearly, duh. But it's episode 1, 20 years later, after they already did episode 6, which is really kind of confusing. And I don't know if George Lucas just was like, I don't know if he thought it wasn't going to go anywhere, or it wasn't going to be as good as he thought, but it ended up being freaking cool. Like, it ended up working. It's pretty much the pinnacle of George Lucas's career, I think. But I don't know. Like I said, leave in the comment section what you guys thought. I love the movie. So good. What's her name? Natalie Portman is Queen Amidala in this, and she's so young. She's adorable. I think Natalie Portman's gorgeous. But, like, you know, in this movie, she's got like the funky, weird makeup, and then the second, because she has to kind of like go undercover as like a normal person, and I think they got Keira Knightley to play the backup queen, which even Keira Knightley's a good looking woman. Like, I was gonna say, like, any the actresses who kind of like played Queen Amidala, they're both really good looking, even though in the movies when you watch them, like, what the hell are they wearing and what is on their face, you have no idea. It's just the goofy, weird Star Wars makeup a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I guess, where fashion was not a thing. Anyway, so, like in the comment section what you thought of this movie. Let me know how you feel about these videos in general. Like I said, I'm having a great time with this, guys. I love doing this, and like, I'm in summertime now in Florida. At least I'm considering this to be summer because it's hotter than hell outside. I run a pool technician company, so it's been busy for me. And I'm going to do everything I can to make a video at least once a week. I know I'm running behind on this one, but I actually kind of was like trying to figure out what my next segment was going to be, and I picked Star Wars. And I think this is going to be interesting for all of us. It's going to be interesting for me. And I have a lot of content to go over, so this will be perfect for a while. So, like I said, guys, I appreciate all the views. I appreciate all the likes and comments, everything like that. Please subscribe again. And I can't wait to do the next video because I actually think the second movie is probably my least favorite in the entire thing. But all in all, like, it's still good. And like when you get to the clone army and the droid battle, it's gonna kick ass, guys. Like I said, if you haven't watched the Star Wars movies, you're probably lying to me if you put that you haven't. But if you haven't, well, you know, get on it because it's really good. I prefer Star Wars over Star Trek, which I don't know much about Star Trek, so I like really can't compare the two. But all in all, Star Wars is so awesome. Star Wars is so cool. Start with the Phantom Menace. That's technically number one in the whole franchise. You know, you get to see young Anakin, who ends up being Darth Vader. I just wish Qui-Gon Jinn. Oh god. I just wish Qui-Gon Jinn lasted a little longer. I truly do, because Qui-Gon really is a really cool character. He's smart, he's witty, and like I said, it's kind of cool that when what happens to him ends up just like setting the tone for the rest of them, if that makes sense. Like Qui-Gon ends up, you know, spoiler, dying. Obi-Wan ends up training Anakin to become a Jedi, but for some reason, since then, it's almost like, I don't know, it's like weird. Anakin's life was brutal, but it almost started with when Qui-Gon died, that Anakin just went down this rabbit hole of evil, or just started just becoming like a punk ass, whatever you want to call it. But all in all, like I said, like the movie is awesome. I probably left a bunch out, which is fine. Like, I only have a limited amount of time to do these. I try to just kind of sell you on what I feel is the coolest parts of the movie. Well, the fighting choreography, everything like that. And there's also the pod race. The pod race, I think, was a little bit too long of a scene, but it was necessary for the movie. Like I said, you'll find out that Anakin was a slave, and so was his mom to a little bug. Like this bug, you know. It's kind of weird how that happened, but he's a cool guy. Like I said, it all kind of figures out. And Qui-Gon, like I said, you find out that he's more of like the rebel Jedi. Like he ends up like kind of like flipping there's this little dice, you know, I guess, and I guess he cheats in the process. Like I said, it's not the Jedi way, but it's the Qui-Gon way, which is a whole different world. Thank you for watching my video, guys. Stay tuned for more content, and please, guys, always remember to have a fantastic day.
Welcome to the Dan Show. Starring Dan Whalen.
Hey guys, welcome back to my show where we talk about all things movies, TV shows, and cigars. And today we're going to be talking about the third movie in the Star Wars franchise. We're going to be talking about Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith. Now, before we get started, if you could please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, definitely helps me out, and stay tuned for more videos. Definitely going to be a continuation of the Star Wars franchise. I think the next one I'm going to do is Rogue One, because that's kind of the in-between the third movie and the fourth movie. Rogue One is in the middle. I don't know if I'm going to do Han Solo. What do you guys think? Should I do Han Solo? I've seen it. I'd have to rewatch it before making a video, because it's kind of like one of those, like, yeah, I've seen it, but you don't really remember it type situations. Let me know if you want to watch that one too, or want me to, you know, talk about that one as well on the show. Let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much. So this one kind of already immediately starts off with just like action. So it starts off with this epic space battle with Obi-Wan and Anakin, you know, and so this is essentially the movie where Anakin just like breaks bad, you know. That's pretty much where this movie takes off. Like, this is kind of like the whole point of this movie, is where kind of like the uprise of the Sith and Darth Vader, pretty much. But Anakin kind of starts off as good, like halfway through the movie, until he's just like easily manipulated by the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious. And I mean, not for nothing, but Anakin was definitely weak-minded, and I'm gonna get into it. Like, there's just like, he was so gullible, I guess would be the word, you know, like, that's just my opinion. We're gonna get into that in a minute, but like, so they're in this space battle, you know, they have to go save the Senator, which is, you know, in case you didn't realize, it's, you know, the Emperor Palpatine, you know, the bad guy, the main bad guy, whatever, but nobody knows that yet, somehow, nobody knows that yet. So they get into the ship where the Separatists, right? I think that's like where the droids are called, the Separatists. They get on the ship, and then you meet this character who I think did not have enough screen time, and he was kind of like just like a thrown in random character. You don't hear about him at all in any other movie other than this one, but you meet this General Grievous guy who's like this kind of like advanced droid, but like he also has like a heart. He's like coughing the whole movie. It's kind of funny. Like he's literally just a bionic alien, but he's a cool character because like he has like 4 arms and he can like do Jedi twists and stuff. We'll talk about that. But yeah, no. So we meet up with General Grievous, you know, and you only find out that he's like the bad guy of this movie, kind of. But like, if you remember Count Dooku in the second movie, yeah, Count Dooku probably has 5 minutes, maybe like 3 minutes tops in this movie of just screen time, and Anakin just beats the shit out of him, like literally. And then, so you already kind of know that he's like I don't want to say the apprentice, but maybe supposedly the apprentice of Lord Palpatine. And as soon as Anakin beats the crap out of him, the Palpatine's just like, yeah, go ahead and kill him. Yeah, I don't need him now. And then Anakin's like, well, I shouldn't. And I'm gonna say it. Like, if I were Count Dooku, I'd be like, listen, dude, that guy over there, he's the freaking Sith Lord. Like, the hell, you know, like you got the wrong guy. Even though he was a bad guy anyway. But I would have definitely been like, well, if I'm about to die anyway, like, I'm telling your secret, dude. I don't know, like, that's just my opinion. But like, that's kind of like the start of where Anakin really starts to become like bad. Obi-Wan is kind of knocked out on the floor, so of course Obi-Wan's not able to consult him or, you know, talk him down or anything like that. Like, it's not the Jedi way type stuff. But it is what it is. Like I said, whatever. So if you remember from the second movie, Padme and Anakin are already married. They're married now. And freaking, there's a scene where Padme takes Anakin kind of like into like this little corridor or whatever. And she goes, guess what? I'm pregnant. Guess with who? You already know who. Oh my God. They don't know it's twins yet, but you already know like who's coming. You know what I mean? Whatever. But Anakin kind of ends up having like these nightmares of her dying during pregnancy or whatever, and he gets kind of like freaked out, whatever, and somehow Lord Palpatine finds out about these dreams that he's having and swears that he can save her from this horrible fate if he joins the dark side, which, come on, man, you know what I mean? Like, no one ever can be that gullible. I could be wrong. You know what? Honestly, I've probably witnessed something this stupid in my life. I just can't recall what it was. But like, it's just like really, dude. Like, wait till you find out what he had to do to get on the side of like. Oh my God. Okay, so we're gonna skip ahead a little bit. We're gonna talk about like the hell that goes on in this movie. This is definitely, I think, the darkest movie in the franchise. So there's this thing, like, once Anakin kills Mace Windu, who is the purple lightsaber guy, played by the actor that's in every movie ever, Samuel L. Jackson. Literally every movie in the world, this guy's in it. Even Star Wars, apparently. But he's got the purple lightsaber. You know, Anakin kills him, and, like, Palpatine's ends up, like, shocking him out the window. That's when Palpatine gives him the title of Darth Vader. Once the title of Darth Vader is given to Anakin Skywalker, he initiates this Order 66, and that's pretty much the execution of all the Jedi. All the Jedi. So they march to the Jedi. Anakin marches to the Jedi Temple with the clone troopers behind him, and just slaughters every Jedi. And there's the scene that we all know about, like the scene where it's like, oh, he's gone, is when he walks into the room where Yoda was training the younglings, which are like the kids training to be Jedi. And you see the one kid go, what are we going to do? Oh my God, hey, help. And you just see Anakin just ignite his lights and be like, oh my God, this son of a bitch. I'm going to say it, like, I love women. I'm single right now, which is fine. But, like, if I'm ever getting married, or if I'm ever married and I find out my wife might die during pregnancy, I would be willing to, like, at least, like, talk to her and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. We have to take medical, you know, precautions and shit. You know, something like that, you know? You don't just go around, like, slaughtering people. Like, dude, come on. You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, just the easily stupid manipulation of Palpatine to Anakin is kind of, like, almost unrealistic to me. But whatever. It's just, I guess, like, they had to kind of make some kind of story about how evil he was. And, man, they freaking did it. This guy literally slaughters children just to save his wife. And it's like, okay, like, cool, you know, there's, not cool, actually. There was another way to do it, man. There was another way to, there was definitely another way to, you know, make this not be the way to go, you know, whatever. But anyway, I didn't write the book, I didn't write the story. in modern day world, I would have like talked to my wife and been like, hey, I had a dream you're gonna die during childbirth. We need to take medical procedures. You know, we got to get everything going. Whatever. And then that's the healthy way to do it, I think. Not just going ahead and slaughter an entire monk empire Jedi stuff. Whatever. Anyway, so besides all that, that's like my biggest pet peeve of this movie is like how bad he just became out of nowhere over like, I don't want to say a silly rumor, but like, he was just so easily manipulated. Like, he barely had a mind of its own. And, like, just weak-minded, I guess. Just like that. Convinced that everything he believed in before was bad. Just out of nowhere. Anyway, so Obi-Wan is kind of like the Han Solo of this movie. Like, he's kind of like the just good to be good, but he's kind of like the, like, badass of the whole movie. I love Obi-Wan, since Obi-Wan is probably the coolest Jedi ever. I'd say Qui-Gon, ironically, would be underneath him, even though Qui-Gon did not have enough screen time at all. But Obi-Wan is a cool character. Obi-Wan ends up, you know, being the general of the army with the clones and all that, so he's pretty much in command of all of them. But once Order 66 happens, they kind of just say screw that, and they just kind of betray him. But Obi-Wan ends up living, and so does Yoda. Yoda is just like, he's, you know, I don't want to say godlike creature, but like he's kind of like just so in tune with the Force, it's almost like he saw it coming, you know, whatever. I still don't get how Yoda did not see past Palpatine's, like, little ruse or whatever. I don't know, whatever, it is what it is. But anyway, yeah, no, like, I'd say the coolest part of this movie, after all the chaos is done, everything is destroyed, whatever, Obi-Wan confronts Anakin about what he's done to the Jedi Temple and like how he's completely lost to the dark side now. And then you possibly get literally the most epic lightsaber battle in all the Star Wars movies. I'd say it's better than the Darth Maul one with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. I'd say it's better than anything else. It's just so fast-paced, it's so epic, it's cool. The music in the background is like, you know, it's intense. It's an intense fight scene between Obi-Wan and Anakin. And it's really good. Like, I actually thoroughly enjoy this fight. Even though, like I said, it's kind of weird because it's almost like father versus son because of their relationship and time, you know, throughout the, like, history of them being together as, you know, Padawan and Master, whatever. And like I said, it's just kind of like Anakin became so highly trained that he was able to match Obi-Wan in the Force, which you'll know what I'm talking about if you watch the movie. They have like this hand little thing and they kind of just blow each other back, which is kind of cool, whatever. But like, epic fight, epic battle. So it kind of leads to, like, there's an ending where, again, Anakin just gets cocky. He goes, you underestimate my power. You know, and then Obi-Wan's like, don't jump, dude, just don't do it. And then Obi-Wan's got the high ground. Anakin's on this little platform. And Anakin jumps, and then Obi-Wan just, like, yeah, just slices Anakin's arms and his one arm and both his legs off. And he's like, you're the chosen one. Like, you were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them. What the hell? You know what I mean? Oh, my God. And then he goes, I hate you, you know, and then Obi-Wan's like, well, I loved you, man, and this is what you did. You kind of deserve this now. So later on, Emperor Palpatine, you know, after fighting with Yoda, which is like going on at the same time as the Obi-Wan and Anakin battle, which that is just as cool. Again, something about watching that little green guy fight this normal-sized dude, flipping, bouncing, you know, that kind of stuff. It's awesome. It's funny at the same time somehow, but it's still pretty cool. Oh, you know, like, the fighting in this movie, like, the entire action of this movie is probably the greatest in all of the movies. Because it's almost, like, not stopped. Like, there's, like, very minimal scenes of, like, relaxation, I guess, but, like, the entire movie is just a giant action scene. You know what I mean? I think. But it's all, choreographed, everything's, like, really cool, colorful, everything's nice about it. It's visually pleasing. But once the fight between Yoda and Palpatine is, you know, that, like, the Darth Sidious is another name. Once that battle's over, Darth Sidious kind of senses that Anakin's in trouble, flies over to see him, and then picks him up as, like, this one-limbed body at this point, like, literally burned to death at this point because he was so close to the lava, ended up catching fire. Brutal, I know. But then, this is pretty much the part where, you know, Anakin ends up getting the Darth Vader suit. You know, and I think that's kind of crazy. Like, the first time you hear the deep, you know, voice respirating, you know, the breather that he has, it kind of gives you, like, a little chill. And then you kind of just see the sheer power of Darth Vader when he realizes that his anger killed Padme. Even though she wasn't dead yet, and she did technically die at childbirth, she more died from a broken heart. How cute. You know, like, aw, that's That's so cute. That's adorable. Whatever. Anyway, it happened, and then the last thing she says to Obi-Wan is they're still good in Anakin, which you don't find out until like another like fucking 20 years later, which we'll get into that later. That's kind of in the 6th movie. Right now we're in the 3rd. You know, we'll get into that later. But like I said, it's just kind of like Anakin's a little just weak-minded in this movie to a point where you're like, are you kidding me? Like, are you serious? Like, you know, I think honestly a simple like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, would have been enough to like kind of snap him out of it. But I don't know. Like I said, Anakin's just a little girl. Like he's just kind of like a weak-minded nothing in this movie. I don't know. It really kind of pisses me off. Whatever. But anyway, all in all, the movie was really good. The movie is, like I said, visually pleasing, and this is kind of like where it ends. This was the ending of like the newer generation of the 1, 2, and 3. We waited years to get to these movies, and this is where it leads on into the 4th movie, which came out in the 70s. Kind of weird how they did that, but it's still cool. I'm gonna end up doing Rogue One, I know that. I probably have to rewatch it before making a video, because that's another one that I don't watch all the time. But like I said, I've seen it before, and I want to watch it again. I want to redo that one. I want to do that one good. That honestly, which came first, Halo Reach or Rogue One? Because they're almost the same movie. Or the game is also the same movie and vice versa. I don't know which one came first. Leave in the comment which one it was. But I liked Rogue One. I loved Halo Reach. Like, I was actually considering talking about video games on this channel. I'm not sure yet. I don't play them enough to really like talk about them too often. But I watched this trailer for Doom the Dark Ages, and I thought it was awesome. And I was like, man, you know, that's a game I could get into. I love Doom Eternal and all that. But anyway, I'm definitely going to do Rogue One. I'm going to probably end up doing Solo. I'm not sure on that one yet, even though that is kind of like the in-between of those. So we'll see where that goes. But all in all, yeah, Revenge of the Sith, like, I can't rate these movies because they're all so freaking good. But yeah, no, like, Revenge of the Sith is awesome. Let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments. Let me know if you think Anakin took it a little too far, because I definitely side with you if you do agree with that. I think he was, like, way out of line. In an unrealistic way. Like, I would get, like, maybe a panic attack. But going on a full-blown, like, slaughter spree? Nah, man, come on. Come on. You know, I don't know, whatever. But, like, it is what it is. Like I said, leave in the comments section what you thought of this movie. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I just want everybody to remind everyone to have a fantastic day. And always stay tuned for more videos, guys. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the Dan Show. Starring Dan Whalen.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my show where we talk about all things movies, TV shows, and cigars. And today is actually Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to everybody who's watching right now. You know, I hope everyone's hanging out with their family, you know, eating good food, just having laughs, good times, you know, hunting for eggs, all that fun stuff. You know, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Easter. We're going to get into this video. This is going to be in continuation of last week's video. Last week we talked about Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Today we're going to be talking about the second movie in the trilogy, which would be Star Wars: Attack of the Clones. Now, before we get started, if you could please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, definitely helps me out. Stay tuned for more videos. Okay, so this movie, if you've seen it kind of like in the past, like when it first came out, this is when I really think Star Wars introduced really heavy CGI. And like, okay, so Yoda is now CGI in this movie, and like I said, later on they remaster all the movies where Yoda's now gonna be, you know, not a puppet anymore. He actually becomes more of like a CGI character. You'll see it if you have the extended editions, or not even the extended, but the remastered editions. You'll know what I'm talking about. But this movie's really cool. So if we remember from the first one, Anakin Skywalker, which if you didn't know, this is Darth Vader, is an adult now. He's more of like a teenager kind of kid, you know what I mean? And this is kind of where him and Padme, who ends up being, you know, his girlfriend / wife in the future, like this is where they kind of start really like mingling around, you know, whatever. And they're in kind of secrecy about it because Padme is kind of royalty and he's just a Jedi, and Jedi are not meant to be fooling around with really anybody because that's just not the Jedi way, which must suck. You know, as cool as it would be to have like the Force and, you know, electricity and stuff, like, you gotta get laid, man. You know, come on, like, stop. Like, what's with the monk stuff ruining all the good stuff? I don't know, whatever. But like, that's gonna backfire. But anyway, so whatever. But anyway, it's like anyway, so that kind of is where this movie is kind of where that relationship kind of sets off into the sun, you know, and everybody starts getting happy, whatever. But there's a lot of problems in this movie. Like this is I think this is one of the most political movies of the Star Wars franchise. Like there's a lot of Senate meetings and, you know, like court meetings and everything like that. And Obi-Wan essentially took, you know, Qui-Gon's word to heart and pretty much trained Anakin to become a Jedi, which ends up being pretty cool. Like actually becomes their demise later in the future. But I love this movie. Like if I'm gonna be honest with you though, this one's probably my least favorite in the whole entire franchise. And you know what? I lied about that. I probably lied about that a little bit. I think this one is still better than, you know, 7, 8, and 9. I still think it's better than those two. Because, okay, but anyway, we'll get to that later. But I definitely feel like this one's my least favorite if we're talking about the original, like, 6. You know, before 7, 8, and 9 came out. This one's definitely probably my least favorite one. But, all in all, it's still a really good movie. We get introduced to new characters. We get a character called Count Dooku. We get to, like, I think the coolest part of the movie is when they're in, like, the Coliseum, and you get to see the Jedis and everybody fighting the droid army, the Separatists, you know, and all that crap. This is also the first movie where they introduced the Death Star, which that becomes a huge problem in the future. But all in all, like this movie was really good. I could, if I were to talk all day about these movies, these videos would be an hour and a half long each, and we just don't have time for that. You know what I mean? Like it is Easter Sunday, and I still have to get to my parents' house and, you know, all that fun stuff. But all in all, like I try to keep these as brief as possible. But all in all, yeah, this movie is really cool. This movie is really awesome. Like, there's a lot. This is definitely also, I want to say, aside from being political, this is also the most, like, romanticized one. Like, there's a lot of romance going on between Anakin and Padme, which I would actually say, like, that they're, like, the main, I would say just, like, the main characters, like, per se. Like, I'm not saying they're the only ones, but, like, they are the two that the movie relatively, like, focuses on the most. And, this is also, I would say, the beginning of Anakin Skywalker's demise. And the reason I say that is Anakin goes back to his home planet. I can't even remember the name of it. It's not Tatooine. It's something else. I don't even remember what the name of the freaking planet was. Anyway, he goes back to his home planet, and, you know, he ends up finding out that his mother was set free, kind of, or bought by somebody else. And his name was Lars, apparently. And then next thing you know, she goes missing. Anakin goes to find her, that she was captured by a bunch of sand people, like the, you know, those sand people. And, freaking, you know, she ends up having, like, her last dying words is pretty much her saying just, like, I love you, and then she dies. And then Anakin, being not the super cool Jedi that he is, decides to just kind of slaughter the whole village of sand people. And, that's essentially, like, where the pain and anger starts to come from, where he kind of has, like, a little bit of a temper. I don't know if he took it a little too far, but he just decides to slaughter the whole village. Which is, again, pretty much the start, or maybe, like, a little bit more of the demise of Anakin Skywalker. Now we got a bunch of other side characters. Like, I won't even say Obi-Wan Kenobi is a side character. He's just another main character in the movie. And, he's off trying to, like, he's pretty much a general. Like, he's trying to figure out, like, how the hell he's going to stop the Separatists. And then he ends up, finding out about a missing Jedi in an archive somewhere. Then he ends up going to the planet, only to find out that they've been building this guy a clone army for X amount of years. Like, and they're like, and there's like a ton of them, but they're all based off of one guy. Who ends up in the movie is Jango Fett, which I'm sure everybody's also heard of Boba Fett from the original 3 movies. But Jango Fett is essentially the father of Boba Fett, and the clones have essentially the same face as he does, which is kind of cool. Like, they're all just pretty much destined to be soldiers. Like, they really don't know anything else other than fighting and dying for orders, pretty much, or whatever, whoever's in charge or leading them around. Still a really cool concept, whatever, but, like, Attack of the Clones is pretty much like the Separatists are essentially winning halfway through this movie. And like I said, when they're in the Coliseum and they're trying to save Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, all the Jedi show up, and there's like this big battle in this Coliseum with a bunch of droids and stuff. And right before they're about to be completely obliterated, that's when the clones show up. And I think, honestly, that is the coolest part of the movie. Like, I'm talking, it's colorful, it's action-packed, it's just really awesome to watch, and it's just non-stop action. And then, other than Darth Sidious being, like, constantly the villain in every movie, we kind of deal with more of this other character called Count Dooku, which Count Dooku is, like, I guess the master of Qui-Gon Jinn, who was also the master of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is, like, kind of like a weird tier list, which is kind of neat at the same time. But I don't know why, but I kind of like the fact that Count Dooku's lightsaber is like kind of like broken or bent. You know, I don't know if it's broken or whatever. If you know what that's about, leave it in the comments. Just let me know. But oh no, I think the movie is actually like the fight scene between Obi-Wan, Anakin Skywalker, and Count Dooku is a bit slow, and I feel like Count Dooku's just kind of like toying with them. But then you got your man Yoda showing up, and I remember being a kid. Seeing this in the movie theater I'm talking like 2002 era, whatever. I lived in Colorado and I went with my aunt to see it. And actually, if I remember correctly, there was a big old mountain fire outside, like literally inside of Colorado, and it was the whole sky was just gray. It was ugly. You could literally stare directly at the sun. But I actually don't think we should have went out and did anything. But we ended up going to the movies to see Star Wars: Attack of the Clones. And I'll never forget when Yoda shows up and starts confronting Count Dooku on things, and then you just see Yoda just like jumping around, you know, like you know, just. And I remember being like 7 or 8, just laughing my ass off in the movie theater. And you know what's funny? Even when I watch the movie now, it cracks me up. Like, it's still kind of funny seeing like this little dwarf midget guy just bouncing around, kicking this other guy's ass. You know, and like I said, it was the movie was cool, and this movie's very nostalgic because of that moment. Like, I remember being a kid, absolutely obsessing over these movies. But yeah, I really like Attack of the Clones. You know, again, I'm not gonna rate these ones. Like, I don't even think I rated the first one. But they're all good. Like, you gotta watch them. If you haven't seen them, like, you're either a liar or you got a lot of work to do, because you're missing out. Like, Star Wars is awesome. I think Star Wars is some of the greatest, literally probably one of the greatest franchises ever, next to Lord of the Rings, and it's up there. It really is, and it's crazy because George Lucas, I don't think, really even expected these movies to do good, which, wow, man, shock the world. You did fantastic. You killed it. You have a forever continuation. You have, like, literally one of the greatest franchises ever, and you don't even realize it. Like, good for you, man. But all in all, like I said, these movies are great. Attack of the Clones is number 2 in the movie. Next week will be Revenge of the Sith, and, you know, all that. Like I said, I'm going to go in the order that they were written in. You know, so I might actually end up doing Rogue One before I do 4, 5, and 6, because that's, again, just in the order. Rogue One, I've seen it a few times, but I might need to rewatch it before actually making the video. But anyway, yeah, no, Attack of the Clones, really awesome movie, really good. I liked it a lot. Let me know if you liked it too. Like I said, it's my least favorite in the original 6, but it's still badass. Like, it's still a great movie. Like I said, it focuses more on the political side of things and the romance of Anakin and Padme, and then pretty much at the end of the movie, when the kind of like the Separatists and Clone War happens, that's kind of when, in my opinion, when the movie really kind of like takes off. And if anybody's ever played the Star Wars Battlefront video games, I feel like it's like watching that. Like, it's like almost like when you watch this movie, you almost feel like, or you remind yourself about how cool that game was. And then that's it. I don't know. Like, something about that ending war reminds me of that video game. And that video game was that video game was awesome. That game was so cool. It was insane. I love that game. But anyway, that's my talk about Star Wars: Attack of the Clones. I think it's great. I know I could have went over so much more, but like, this movie is incredibly awesome. Get to it. You know what to do. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. I wanted to wish everyone again a happy Easter, and more importantly, other than it just being Easter, I just want every one of you to have a fantastic day. You know, go be with your family. You know, again, another challenge. Make sure you call your friends. Make sure you call your family. Tell them you love them. All that fun stuff, because life's too short. You know, and you'll regret it if something, God forbid, happens to them. You know, just give them a call, guys. Tell them you love them. You know, and it could make their whole week, could make their month. Maybe they would love to hear from you, and they're just busy, and, you know, don't take it to heart if they don't reach out to you. I know the phone goes both ways, but do what you got to do. Anyway, guys, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and always remember to have a fantastic day.
Welcome to the Dan Show. Starring Dan Whalen.
Hey guys, welcome back to my show where we talk about all things movies, TV shows, and cigars. And today we're going to be talking about the 5th movie in the Star Wars franchise. So I rewatched Rogue One, and yeah, I remember why it was so forgettable. Like, I don't know. I couldn't. I found myself more playing on my phone than watching the movie. The only scene that I think is worth it really talking about in that movie would be the Darth Vader scene. We all know the scene that I'm talking about, and if you haven't seen that scene, it could have been the whole movie. That one scene could have been the whole movie, and I would have been like, that was the greatest Star Wars movie of all. I don't know, just Darth Vader kicked ass. But today we're going to be talking about the 5th movie. We're going to be talking about The Empire Strikes Back. Now, before we get started, if you could please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, it definitely helps me out. Stay tuned for more videos. Definitely been, this summer sucks. Like, this summer has just been ridiculous. Like, it's just been hell. It's been busy. It's been hotter than Satan's blood out, you know, but it is what it is. Life goes on, but I'm still doing everything I can to pump out videos for you guys, so here we freaking go. I think this one's my favorite. I know, I think, I'm pretty sure I said in the last one that A New Hope was my favorite. No, I think this one takes the cake. I like this one because, you know, something about, like movies where, like, the bad guy kind of wins for a minute, I kind of dig it for some reason. I don't know why. That might sound kind of like Psycho. I don't even care. But this movie is primarily where... back in like the 80s, you know, in the 70s when the movies came out, this is where you get introduced to Yoda. Yoda is kind of like the Master Jedi that got away from the Order 66. Same with Obi-Wan Kenobi back in Episode 3. But now, like we mentioned, a character back in A New Hope called Luke Skywalker, and this is the movie where he primarily kind of discovers like that he has the ability to use the Force, and that he's starting to get better with the lightsaber. All thanks to your boy Yoda. This, like I said, this one is pretty much about where, you know, the Empire wins this round, you know? So, we got a lot going on. We start off on this ice snow planet called Hoth, which, personal opinion, is my favorite scene in the whole movie. Like, something about the big old, you know, AT-AT walkers or the AT-AT walkers, you know, when they're kind of marching. I remember having the thing, like the actual toy as a kid, and man, I was gonna say, I used to have a blast with that stupid thing. It's just this big, you know, dog-looking, you know, armored robot transporter thing, and it's just like unstoppable. The only way to really defeat this thing is if you get it on its ass. You know, you gotta literally wrap a freaking cord around it, which they demonstrate in the movie on the main Hoth battle when, I guess Darth Vader just makes the assumption that, oh my god, the rebels are on Hoth, and all the other Empire generals are like, okay, yeah, I guess so, you know, whatever. Like, it's kind of funny that he's like, that's it, they're there, and he goes, okay, I guess the Force is strong with, Darth Vader. Anyway, so that battle kicks ass. I really like that one. But after that battle kind of takes off, Luke Skywalker flies off to the Dagobah system after kind of getting the. If I remember, I think I told you guys in the last one that Obi-Wan becomes like essentially like a Force ghost after Darth Vader kills him in A New Hope, and then Luke Skywalker is almost on the verge of death from freezing to death. He actually gets attacked by like this Sasquatch-looking creature, which I'll explain that later. But Darth Vader, or Obi-Wan Kenobi just kind of goes, you must go to the Dagobah system, and Luke's like half dead, you know, on this ice planet freezing to death, and I guess he remembers that specific thing after, like, the Battle of Hoth is over, which the Empire wins the Hoth battle. Like, the rebels have to retreat and, you know, escape and everything like that. Like I said, the Empire full-on wins this entire movie. Like, they just show up, they kick ass, and they leave the rebels in the dirt. It's crazy. Anyway, so Luke goes to the Dagobah system, ends up linking up with Yoda. Yoda ends up being like this kind of tiny little pain in the ass. Luke isn't having it. Luke actually thinks it's not even him until, you know, next thing you know, Yoda's talking to Obi-Wan's ghost, and then he's like, oh my god, you're Yoda? And telling him like, oh yeah, Luke Skywalker's too old, and Luke's like, I don't give a shit, I'm gonna just keep doing it anyway. Only to find out that later on in the life of Luke Skywalker, he's like the most powerful Jedi ever. You know, but that's later in other movies, whatever. But anyway, Han and Leia are kind of becoming like a thing in this movie. Han Solo is the kind of like the, what would you even call him? Just like the smuggler, you know, of the fourth movie. And Leia's a princess, you know, straight up. And then they end up becoming a thing. Chewbacca is just kind of there, you know. C-3PO and R2 are kind of there too, but they're all like, that's the crew that's there. they end up meeting, they end up going to like this Sky City. I don't remember the name of the city. I think it's actually just called Sky City. Leave in the comments what's the name of that the city that's in the sky. I don't remember. But this is where we meet good old Lando Calrissian. Lando Calrissian is supposedly Han Solo's friend, and ends up betraying him to the Empire. And next thing you know, Han Solo is frozen in kryptonite because he's actually I want to say like a bartering chip for a character that we'll get into the next movie, which is Jabba the Hutt. And for some reason, everybody loves Boba Fett, but Boba Fett says like one word in the entire Star Wars franchise. But for some reason, everybody loves Boba Fett. I guess, I don't know, whatever. But Boba Fett is a pretty cool character. He's a bounty hunter, and he's looking for Han Solo to get back to Jabba the Hutt because Jabba the Hutt is owed money from Han Solo, which is exactly the reason why he's frozen in carbonite. But in order to do that, Lando tricks them into coming into that Sky City where the Empire's already there. And the only reason why they did this was to lure Luke Skywalker to Darth Vader. Now, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker end up kind of like meeting up on that Sky City ship, or that little Sky City period, whatever. And then you get what I would say is probably the most exciting Star Wars battle, or Star Wars lightsaber battle of the older movies. And what I like about this one is you kind of get like, I mean, everybody should know this iconic line by now is Luke, I am your father. Like, you only find out that Darth Vader is now the father of Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker's like, no, it's not true, you know? And it is what it is, you know, whatever. And apparently, like, that was a big deal back in, like, the early 80s, you know, that, like, oh, shit. Apparently, it threw a lot of people off. Even Mark Hamill was thrown off. Nobody was really supposed to know about it until it was announced. And, I don't know, man. I think what sucks is when I grew up, I already knew that was the case. I would have loved to have seen it for the first time in movie theaters and found out, like, oh, my God, no way. You know, to find out that, like, that Luke Skywalker, who's like good to be good, and his dad is just pure freaking evil. You know what I mean? Kind of pure evil. But like, you know, I would have been like, damn, oh my God, what a twist. You know, like that's crazy. Would he twist? You know, and I would have loved that. I don't know, but like now I already knew it watching the movies as a kid. Like I already knew that Luke was already the son of Darth Vader, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, like not as shocking as I thought, but it was supposed to be a big surprise. But the one thing about movies with twists is when you see the movie once, that's it. You never get that same, like, oh my God, that twist. You know, you never get that feeling again. You know, which, that's fine, but like, it leads to a good movie anyway, but like, I don't know, it's just my pet peeve on movies with twists. It's like watching The Sixth Sense. You know, when you find out that Bruce Willis is dead, the entire movie pretty much, it's like, now I don't have to watch the movie ever again. You know, what a great movie, by the way. I'm not, this video is not about The Sixth Sense, but like, you get my premise on movie twists. But yeah, I don't know. Like this movie is definitely my favorite. I would definitely give it a watch. I definitely gave you the briefest description of this movie. I apologize, guys. I'm doing everything I can to you know, pump out these videos for you. I'm still on it though. You can't deny it. You know, I'm still pushing forward, which is a great time. I love you all, period. You know, just straight up, I miss all of you, and I hope to, you know, keep doing this, which I will continue to do this. There will be nothing that will stop me unless, you know, God forbid, something happens to my life or my phone breaks or just, there's no way I'm not continuing this. So please like and subscribe. I'm doing this for you guys. I'm not doing this for myself. I lied to you. I'm actually kind of doing this for myself too because I find this to be a lot of fun. But anyway, The Empire Strikes Back, guys. Go give it a watch. Like, let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I want to go over in this. Like, that's kind of it. Like, just understand that the Empire wins. Hence the name, The Empire Strikes Back. And they do strike back. You know, they kind of corner the rebels. You know, they have everything kind of like, they're all stuck. Other than that, I think that's all I can really go over in this video. So again, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and make sure, guys, you always have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one, because the next one I think is going to be a little bit longer because we have a lot to go over in the next one, which will be Return of the Jedi. You know, yeah, Return of the Jedi, which is a great movie, and I can't wait to talk about that one. Stay tuned for that one, guys. So please have a fantastic day.
Welcome to the Dan Show. Starring Dan Whalen.
Hey guys, welcome back to my show where we talk about all things movies, TV shows, and cigars. And today we're going to be talking about the fourth movie, which they did kind of backwards when, if you know, like kind of how they made these movies. This was kind of the first movie back in the 70s, but was also number 4 in the trilogy. So I know it's a little confusing, and again, I really don't understand why they did that, other than I don't think George Lucas thought this movie was going to go anywhere. And I know I'm skipping over Rogue One, but today we're going to be talking about the fourth movie in the Star Wars installment. It is going to be Star Wars: A New Hope. Now, before we get started, if you could please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, it definitely helps me out. Stay tuned for more videos. I feel like I repeat this every time I make a video, but this is busy season for me, guys. Like, this is busy as hell. Like, it's summertime here in Florida. I run a pool technician company. People are swimming. I'm getting my butt kicked. You know, like I said, so I'm going to pump out as many videos as I can, as often as I can. I managed to have a day off today. Woohoo! So I was able to make a video for you guys because it's been on my mind for about, God, I don't even know, just like a couple days. Like, man, I really need to make a video. So please like and subscribe to my channel, guys. You know, I'd love to eventually just kind of make this a full-time thing because I'm tired of sweating my butt off outside. Ha, ha. But maybe one day, you know, we'll see how this goes. But, like, I kind of need your help. I need your support. And I really appreciate it, guys. I love you. All right, so we're going to jump right on into this. So this movie kind of starts off at the end of Rogue One, which, again, I apologize that I'm not going to be doing that one yet. So it kind of starts off as... you know, the Empire, so you should know what the Empire is by now. You know, the Empire with Darth Vader and Lord Sidious, all them, you know. They're pretty much in their big ship, and they're going after the little rebel ship, you know, as it's like kind of panning into the scene. And it's kind of weird, so I'm going to jump around a lot. So let's just say the Empire ends up taking control of that ship. Like, they end up capturing it and whatever. Princess Leia, which... you don't know this yet, and the audience does not know this yet, but that Princess Leia is Darth Vader's daughter. Spoilers ahead, you're welcome. You know, it is what it is. Just, it is what it is, yeah. So, he ends up, like, completely capturing her. I don't even think Darth Vader even recognizes that that's his daughter yet. Like, I don't think I think it takes a minute. Or maybe he does. And if he does recognize that that's his kid, then he definitely does not get the Father of the Year award, because he's a piece of shit. Anyway, but that's Darth Vader. Everybody expects Darth Vader to be evil. He is, like, the pinnacle of evil. He's actually, sadly, a step below Darth Sidious, which is... that's pretty bad. You know what I mean? Like, wow. Like, if you're that evil and there's somebody even more evil above you, wow, that's crazy. Anyway, so we got Darth Vader. He captures Princess Leia, and then we're gonna pan over to the brother. Which, in case you didn't know, more spoilers ahead. Luke Skywalker is Princess Leia's brother. So, but they don't know that yet. Nobody really knows that yet. But then we kind of go to I forgot the name of the planet. But damn, like, he's on the planet. He's with his Uncle Owen and his Aunt Beru. You know, and you know, you kind of see his side of the story. Like, Princess Leia grew up kind of royalty and, you know, with money and crap, and then you got Luke, who grew up in squalor, you know, just kind of like on this dirt-ridden planet, you know, of just like it's kind of like the hobo planet, you know. It sounds kind of shitty to say that, but it's like the hobo planet, you know. If you're broke, you're stuck on this world. Anyway, Luke Skywalker's a pretty smart kid, you know. He lives with his aunt and uncle. I guess they inherited him, or, you know, took custody of him when Darth Vader lost his mind and his mom died, which was Padme. I know we talked about that. You know, so that's kind of where that's going. But, so let's put it this way. We remember a character named Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi is probably, like, the most wholesome Jedi in the universe. Like, he's so good just to be good. I'd say he's probably more good than Yoda. Yoda was more of, like, the monk type and just kind of, like, studied the Force and whatever. But I think Obi-Wan just was good to be good. Like, you know what I mean? I think that's ultimately what happens. Or his point of view. Like, I think that's ultimately how his character is. So, anyway, we're going to get right on. We're going to get back into that. So, it turns out Obi-Wan and Luke are kind of like, I guess, kind of like friends. Almost on like a, I guess, like, if you want to talk about, like, Back to the Future, kind of like how Doc and Marty McFly are friends. I kind of see that being almost like the same friendship idea, you know? So, whatever there. But, yeah, no, so then, I guess, you have these two droids that were actually on the Rebel ship. You got R2-D2 and C-3PO, which I'm pretty sure they're in every single movie. I'm pretty sure those two droids are literally in every movie. Let me know if I'm wrong about that, but, like, if I remember correctly, they're in all the movies. Anyway, so I guess Princess Leia, before she got captured by Darth Vader, left a message inside of R2-D2 to give to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Luke and his uncle end up buying the droids after the droids were captured. And we'll get to that later. Like this little this little sand dune kind of transporter ends up capturing the two droids and sells them to Luke and Uncle Owen. So inside the R2 unit, though, is like a hologram message that Luke Skywalker ends up kind of intercepting or seeing himself. And he goes, like in the thing, she goes, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." He goes, "I don't know anybody by Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I know a Ben Kenobi." So then he ends up, Luke ends up getting a little bit of trouble with the Sand People, and then out of nowhere, you got Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's now known as Ben Kenobi, saving Luke Skywalker. And Luke kind of says, "Yeah, no, we're looking for like this Obi-Wan Kenobi guy," and Obi-Wan Kenobi just kind of like goes into like a moment of like, "Oh shit, that's me," like he hasn't heard that name in forever, and I thought that was kind of neat. Like I said, like the story of this one, I think really is like the tie together. This is kind of like the. Don't get me wrong, I feel like all the other movies were awesome, but this one really is just like the start of all of it, and that might actually be why George Lucas started this, because I think A New Hope is probably the best Star Wars movie. I don't know about that. I think The Empire Strikes Back might be a little better, but like I really love this one because this one kind of really just kind of kickstarts everything. This one kind of shows you like who's good and who's bad, like where like good and evil kind of begins. You know what I mean? And anyway, so pretty much Obi-Wan explains to him that he was a Jedi, and then he kind of tells Luke that his dad died and was killed by Darth Vader. Which, if you don't know the lore by now, come on, man, catch up. Oh, I'll get to that later. You should already know by now. Like, any human being should know, like, what I'm talking about. So anyway, jumping more into this, like, they end up kind of realize they have to get off the ship to deliver because Obi-Wan kind of receives the message and realizes that Princess Leia is in trouble. Obi-Wan and Luke decide to go help Princess Leia, blah, 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 but they have no way off the planet that they're stuck on. Then they bump into pretty much the coolest character in the entire trilogy. You got Chewbacca, you got Han Solo, and they are captains of the Millennium Falcon, which everybody should know what the Millennium Falcon is by now. So anyway, they end up taking off, they end up getting off the ship, and like, this video could be forever if I went into pure descriptive detail of what this movie was. I'm just gonna jump around a lot more now because I feel like I'm dragging. But all in all, this movie is awesome. So they end up getting off the planet that they're on from the Millennium Falcon after the Empire almost caught them. You'll literally see like the Empire shooting their laser guns at the ship as it's taking off, and they're like, "Wow, that was a close one," heck yeah. So with that being said, now they're off the planet, and they're kind of cruising around space trying to find like where Princess Leia is, and they come across like this moon-shaped like big old, moon-looking thing. And I think the coolest part of the movie is when Obi-Wan realizes, that's not a moon, guys. That's a space station. And you got sarcastic, smart-ass Han Solo going, "Dude, that's too big to be a space station. Jesus Christ, whatever." Anyway, but it turns out to be a legitimate space station. So they end up being kind of sucked in from the space station, and for some reason, they're able to kind of hide in their own little ship, and they end up kind of like beating up a bunch of the stormtroopers and actually intercepting or taking their uniforms and kind of sneaking around the Death Star, which is the moon, by the way, the moon space station that I just talked about. It's called the Death Star. Pretty metal name, actually, like the Death Star. That's kind of metal as hell. I don't know, but anyway, so Obi-Wan's kind of sneaking around like a total Splinter Cell, and Luke and Han Solo are trying to find where Princess Leia is to save her because it's like a rescue mission. So then, let's put it this way. Obi-Wan ends up finding where like the power station is, and he ends up pulling all the levers down to get rid of the pull or deflector or the whatever they use to capture them. It's almost like this gravity field, like it almost like pulls the ships in to capture them, whatever. So Obi-Wan deactivates that. They end up finding Princess Leia, and then lo and behold, Darth Vader ends up bumping into Obi-Wan Kenobi, which ends up being the 1970s old man lightsaber fight. Like, if you remember the lightsaber fight before from the third movie, where it's Anakin and Obi-Wan, and they're just freaking boom, 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 they're like going lightning fast. This one is like kind of like a sleeper. I remember the first time seeing both of them, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is this put me to sleep, you know. But it's a lightsaber fight regardless. I actually kind of like, this is totally off topic, but I liked how they made like this you know, CGI, almost kind of like the same, like what the fight should have been kind of deal. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, you can find that on YouTube somewhere. I guess it's just a vamped up version of that same fight, which is pretty awesome. You can find that on your own. I can probably put a link in the description. We'll see. But anyway, so they're in the middle of fighting each other and whatever, and then Luke ends up bumping into, pretty much coming across them fighting, and he yells, "Ben Kenobi, hey!" And then for some reason, Obi-Wan Kenobi looks at him, smiles at Darth Vader, and just kind of sacrifices himself to, you know, so Darth Vader kind of kills Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is the saddest part of the movie. But I think Obi-Wan did that on purpose, clearly, because I think that was the ultimate point of his mission, was to somehow reunite Luke Skywalker with Darth Vader, or just to make each other aware of each other, which almost sounds kind of weird, but like, I don't know how, I feel like that wouldn't have worked, but like, just because the story wrote itself the way it did, it worked. But I love this movie. Like, this movie kicks butt. So now that Obi-Wan's gone, you'll find out later. I think you actually kind of find out in a couple movies later that he actually becomes like a ghost, or like a wave ghost of the Force or something like that. So clearly Luke Skywalker's bummed that he just lost his friend, which I always had a problem with this. Luke Skywalker took his aunt and uncle who raised him. You know, they end up dying in this movie by the Empire. They end up getting, like, annihilated. But he took their deaths better than Obi-Wan's death. And Obi-Wan was just a friend to him. You know, Luke Skywalker walked up to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's, like, burning corpses. It was just kind of like, damn. That's sad. You know what I mean? And then just kind of, like, skirted away back to where he was, and then you see Obi-Wan die, and he's, like, broken about it, like, just destroyed. Maybe it's just a combination of both that made him into this state of, like, oh my god, life sucks, I don't know, whatever. But anywho, now that they have the princess, and, you know, Han Solo and Chewbacca and, you know, everybody or whatever, they end up taking her back to the Rebel base where, like, their little hideout, and then they kind of realize that this Death Star is a bit of a problem, because, let's put it this way. In the middle of the movie, you see that the Death Star blows up Alderaan, which is Princess Leia's home planet. And I mean, it's annihilates. It just done. It's over. Like, literally within 3 seconds, it's over. You know, just the planet is annihilated. So now they're aware of this huge Death Star threat. And they have to come up with a plan, and somehow inside the Death Star plans that Empire still somehow was never able to acquire because R2-D2 still had them. They found out that there's like this little 2-meter size little hole that they're gonna like decide to bombard or freaking you know, drop a bomb into from their fighter jets and shit like that. But it's kind of like they actually have to plan it out. They know it's not going to be easy, but like literally, it's a planet the size of freaking. Or it's a space station the size of like the moon, and they have to find the 2-meter size little hole to like put it in, you know what I mean? And whatever. Anyway, so they end up flying up, you know, in their spaceships to pretty much attack the Death Star, and lo and behold, use the Force, Luke, you know, use the Force, you know, and he ends up using the Force. He ends up turning his targeting computer, even the rebels or whatever. I'm skipping ahead a lot because let's just put it this way. It's like every movie ever. The good guys almost show signs of losing the battle until Luke kind of realizes, oh my god, I have the Force a little bit. Like, I'm strong with it. Let me try this. Because Obi-Wan's ghost is just like, use the Force, Luke. And Luke is just kind of like, alright, yeah, I'm not going crazy or nothing. Let me just turn off my targeting computer. Let me try this on my own. And guess what, guys? Luke Skywalker ends up dropping a bomb in the 2-meter little hole that's there. And essentially, cool, you know, whatever. You find out later that it was kind of like a flop. But he ends up blowing up the Death Star. Which is like, woo, you know, and then, like, that's kind of the movie, you know? They kind of realize that the Empire is too powerful, and they have this space station that's completely and utterly unstoppable, and they have to pretty much destroy it. That is ultimately what this movie's about. You know, it's also, I like it too, because it's almost like a reuniting of family, without, even though they all don't even know that they're family yet. I thought that was kind of cool, but I love this movie. This one was the first movie I ever watched in the Star Wars trilogy. I was a little kid when I watched this, and I remember my dad, and we used to have like the little toys, you know, the little action figures, whatever. Man, I remember I literally had I had the little speeder that Luke Skywalker rode around and everything like that. I even had the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi as like a little toy, which I thought was kind of silly, but who cares? Whatever. But all in all, like this movie kicked butt. We got a bunch more to go in this freaking trilogy because Star Wars is just endless. And I feel like they're still making things. Let me know in the comments like what's the newest Star Wars thing. I think they're making like an Andor season 2, which I've never even seen season 1. We'll maybe get to that later. But this is the 4th movie. This one's a Star Wars New Hope. Again, I'm not going to rate them from like a 1 to 10 because they're all awesome. Especially the original, the original 6, Like I said, I love this one. This movie's great. I know I left out a bunch of stuff, but I feel like what I narrowed down in this video is the important stuff. Or kind of like this to sum up, like if I'm trying to sell this movie to you, I think I gave you everything you needed to kind of get the idea of what this movie's about. It's a movie about good and evil, guys, like every movie ever. And this one kind of started it all. This one really did start the entire Star Wars trilogy. I don't think George Lucas back in the day thought that these movies were going to do any good, but it turns out they're like probably the single greatest trilogy to ever exist. I think even more than Lord of the Rings, more than Star Trek. Like Star Wars is stamped and approved. Just there it is, guys. Whatever. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. I'm gonna just show out a little reminder there. Again, I'm gonna do my best to pump out more videos for you. I'm gonna literally have to schedule this, I guess, because I feel like I'm gonna admit, like I've been lazy a couple times, where I'm like, I'm not in the mood right now. But just to keep these going, I absolutely need to do this for you guys, and I need you guys to I'll keep you guys posted on things. The next one is probably gonna be The Empire Strikes Back. I don't know. It's a coin toss between these two movies. I don't know which one I like the most, but like The Empire Strikes Back is kind of like the opposite of this one, where the bad guys kind of win. We'll get into that later. That's going to be in the next video. Stay tuned for more videos, guys, and please always remember to have a fantastic day.
Welcome to the Dan Show. Starring Dan Whale.
Hey guys, welcome back to my show where we talk about all things movies, TV shows, and cigars. And today we're going to be talking about the 6th movie in the Star Wars franchise. This one is, it's kind of just I don't want to say it's a throwaway, but it is definitely a classic. Not my ultimate favorite one of the series, but it's still just an amazing movie. We're going to be talking about Star Wars, The Return of the Jedi. Now, before we get started, if you could please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, it definitely helps me out. Stay tuned for more videos. Before we get into this video, though, my birthday was Monday, which, whatever, but then the following day after that, we lost one of the greatest musicians of all time, literally invented my favorite genre of music ever. This is for Ozzy Osbourne, and then I just found out literally about an hour ago, maybe a little bit more, that Hulk Hogan died, which, man, what a week. My God, this week's been crazy. So I got myself a little glass of whiskey. If you guys want to have a toast with me, absolutely. So this goes out to Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan. Thank you guys. I know, hopefully you're both up in heaven or in hell, wherever you are. I hope you can hear me, but thank you guys so much for everything you have done for me in my childhood. Everything you've done for everyone else. You guys seriously are the greatest of all time, and you will be heavily missed. Cheers, guys. Tragic this week. What a week, man. This week's been crazy. But, so we're going to dive right on into it. This video is for them. I wanted to give a special shout out to my buddy Arsenio. For my birthday, like I said, was Monday. He gave me a new microphone. Hopefully the quality of audio in these videos is much better. Tested it a few times. These things are pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. I'm actually kind of impressed with how these sound already. So put in the comment section yay or nay to the microphone. Let me know what you guys think. Whatever. But let's get right on into this. So we're going to talk about the Return of the Jedi. And so this is that. I still don't know exactly what that really means in this movie. It could be, it could be Luke Skywalker coming back as a Jedi, or it could be Darth Vader, spoilers ahead, becoming a Jedi again, going back to being good. It's kind of the two metaphors I have for this movie, I guess, or what the title would mean. So Luke goes back to the Dagobah system to finish his training with Yoda. Pretty much he does that kind of quick. I feel like I'm skipping ahead, actually. Let's go to where we left off in the last one. Han Solo was frozen in carbonite. He was given to Jabba the Hutt, which is, the Jabba the Hutt. You know, everybody knows who Jabba the Hutt is. If you don't, where have you been? But Jabba the Hutt. And, you know, essentially he's kind of just as a decoration. Leia, who is kind of like now, I guess Han Solo's girlfriend now, I guess she tries to pretty much persuade Jabba the Hutt to give back Han Solo by selling Chewbacca, which sounds kind of messed up, but like I guess it was this whole plan. Princess Leia gets caught literally after bringing Han Solo back to life from the frozen carbonite. Then it goes into this huge problem. Next thing you know, Luke shows up ready to kick ass. Like, he's able to freaking force choke now. He's able to kind of do everything. He's at this point like a full-blown Jedi. But you don't really know that yet until it kind of comes to an end. But anyway, so that's an interesting part of the movie where Jabba the Hutt gets defeated. The gang's kind of all back together now. Jabba the Hutt, I actually kind of like Jabba the Hutt. He's just kind of like he's like the Godfather gangster of the Star Wars world. You know what I mean? And hey, Taco, Waka, Chica, you know, he's just, I don't know. He's like just a big old slug, but he's kind of cool at the same time. But we're going to pretty much, after that part, I kind of dig that whole part. I think that's probably my favorite part of the movie is when they're in Jabba's palace and they're doing the whole like shenanigans, whatever. But then we're going to go to the Dagobah system where now Yoda is dying and essentially tells Luke that, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Now that you know that Darth Vader is your father, are you willing to face this challenge? And Luke kind of accepts it, you know, and then he pretty much warns him, like, don't give in to the hate. Do not give in to the dark side. You have to be better than your father, essentially, because we all know how that turned out. Anyway, so Luke then, you know, kind of accepts his role as a Jedi. And then, you know, then he kind of has like this manhunt and goes after his father. You know, he tries to find out where his dad is. And he kind of has like the mindset of trying to convert him back to being good. Now, in this movie, I know I've mentioned Darth Sidious in the past in the other movies, but in the 70s and 80s when these movies came out, you had no idea who the Emperor was. And you actually kind of find out how much of a scumbag he truly is in this movie. Darth Sidious is probably, without a doubt, in cinema history, the most evil character in all of cinema, I think. Like, he's just kind of an asshole to be an asshole. You know, he's just like a piece of crap. But all in all, Darth Sidious is a crazy character. He is very powerful, and he's the biggest manipulator of ever. And I think this is finally the movie where Darth Vader realizes that he's been manipulated his whole life. So so Luke kind of goes off on his own path to find Darth Vader, and we have Princess Leia, we have Chewbacca, we have the droid C-3PO and R2-D2, and you know we have Leia, all them. They go to the Forest Moon of Endor to essentially lower the shield to the Death Star. And they have to pretty much deactivate that shield so they can go pursue the Death Star to destroy it again. I know, I thought in the fourth movie they already did that, but apparently they were rebuilding it, and they're making it more powerful, and they actually had to separate the shields. They had to lower it and make sure that everything was as it was. So anyway, so after they kind of lower the shields to the Death Star, the rebels, who are already getting their butts kicked in outer space, you know, and like literally in space above the Forest Moon of Endor, they now have the chance to go destroy the Death Star permanently this time. Here's the thing, though, with that already being a problem, Luke and Darth Vader are on the Death Star, kind of just hanging out. And I guess Darth Sidious planned out this thing to pretty much set a trap for the rebellion that was supposed to show up and destroy the Death Star, which the trap ended up working really well. But in the end of the freaking movie, you only find out, like, of course, good prevails always. So, but all in all, you know, I like this one. Like I said, I like the fact that Luke was able to overpower his, I guess, urge to join the dark side. Not only want to say urge to join it, but he was just not mentally weak like his father was. You know, he refused to accept the dark side. And, like, I really, for some reason, love the part when he tosses his lightsaber and he looks at Darth Sidious. He's like, I will never join the dark side. I am a Jedi. And then Darth Sidious is like, all right, well, screw you too. And then, like, electrocutes him to pretty much almost tries to kill him, you know. Darth Vader snaps out of it finally and actually picks the Emperor up and tosses him in this endless, you know, pit of death, you know, where you just kind of hear him fall down and you hear a big explosion, which this is in a future video, but in the 9th movie, somehow, and it's literally mentioned in the same movie, somehow Darth Sidious comes back to life. After everything that this son of a gun has been through, this man is just unkillable at this point. How has he not died after being tossed in this pit of hell, essentially, and blows up in the freaking reactor pit of whatever? I don't even know. I don't even care. Whatever. I think in the ninth movie, they just needed to bring a villain back, and they just decided, hey, Darth Sidious is pretty pure evil. He's powerful enough to maybe possibly pull this off. Let's just do that. So that's exactly what happens. But we're not talking about the ninth movie. We're talking about the sixth one. So, you know what? We're going to talk about the Ewoks. I almost wasn't going to talk about the stuffed animal, like little Chewbacca size, Ewok things. But they're the cute little teddy bears, and I kind of kicked the stormtroopers' asses on the Forest Moon of Endor. But, I don't know. I kind of thought it was kind of silly. But at the end of the day, it was acceptable at the same time because it is a Star Wars movie. But, I don't know. I always kind of thought the Ewoks were a little silly, but they are indeed, in fact, really cute to look at. Whatever. But this is also, I want to say, the movie where Han and Leia also kind of ignite that flame, if you know what I mean, wink, wink, of where they actually really kind of start to like each other. And this is also the movie, and I think this was a spoiler in the last video I made on the Star Wars, which was The Empire Strikes Back, this is also the movie where Luke and Leia discover that they were brother and sister, which kind of makes that kiss of theirs in the last movie icky. Oh God, almost incest-wise. But it is what it is. Like I said, if you don't know, you don't know. But at the same time, it's I'd be a little weird about it if it was me. I'd be like, oh God, what did I do? Gross, Anyway, I don't think this movie is better than The Empire Strikes Back, but this movie definitely is the comeback kill of The Empire Strikes Back. In The Empire Strikes Back, as I mentioned, even in the title of that movie, the Empire wins in that movie. This movie is kind of the comeback from the rebellion to essentially shut down the Empire, which somehow, I don't think the Empire is really meant to die, because, again, I'm not trying to veer off track, but in the seventh movie, it's almost like everything the rebellion didn't even matter, because there they are again, years later as the Empire, and they're twice as powerful. Now we have Kylo Ren, and I don't want to veer off into that realm, or in that, kind of that era yet. We'll get into that. That's more of 2000, early, kind of late 2000s era, 2010, 12 era, whatever. But we'll get into that later. But all in all, I really like this one. This movie's really good. It's, again, not my favorite in the franchise, but I do like this movie. I like that it ties it all together. I like that it gives a good demonstration that good does overpower evil, even though the most evil cinematic character ever written is doing everything he can to make Luke join the dark side, and Luke just refuses, which I think is cool because his father gave in so easy. And I think honestly, it's because of Luke's strength in resisting the dark side that Darth Vader was influenced to become good again. Which, in the end of that movie, Darth Vader does die. He becomes one of the ghosts that I know I've mentioned. Qui-Gon becomes a ghost. Obi-Wan becomes a ghost. But man, back in the 80s, I don't think they even really knew exactly what Darth Vader did to become evil. But Darth Vader did slaughter a bunch of kids and literally destroy the Jedi. And just like that, he gets this redeeming, ghost-like thing, And it's man, not for nothing, but you're evil, dude. I don't care. I don't think that what he did in the past really justifies who he became at the end of this movie. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about that. I respectfully disagree. Like I said, he slaughtered a bunch of kids, man. Darth Vader, I'm sorry, man. There's no redeeming that. I don't see redemption for you, but of course, in the end of this movie, he becomes good again, and it's everything he did in the past is just I guess, put behind you now. I guess we're good now. Forget all the people and everything you did to destroy the Jedi, but now you're good again. That's my rant on Darth Vader. Like I said, I wish Darth Vader just kind of stayed bad. I do like the story arc. I love that he was the dad of the good guy in the last three of the franchise, which is kind of cool. But all in all, his redemption is kind of just, I don't want to say unnecessary, but not worthy enough for that redemption. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about that. Like I said, I have a hard time accepting that Darth Vader just became good again and everything he did in the past to become bad is just written off. Whatever. I don't know. But, yeah, like I said, I don't, this movie is definitely just, the finisher of the last 6 movies. Very good. I really liked it a lot. Again, if you are not familiar with the Star Wars franchise, what are you waiting for? I would say this one's definitely up there with Lord of the Rings. I like Star Wars way more than I like Star Trek. And that is for some reason like a teeter-totter, endless debate. I don't know a lot of people that accept both of them. I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan, but I love Star Wars. And some people are like, oh, they're literally like the same thing, just in different universes. I respectfully disagree. I like the Force. I like the idea of Star Wars being like, a bunch of like Jedi Knights. They're just good to be good. They're like the monks of the Star Wars world, and they do just kind of promote the good. But then you got the Sith, who are just like the prime definition of pure evil. I like Star Wars. I think it's great. It's a good description of good and evil put into a movie franchise. But yeah, like I said, the Star Wars franchise, 10 out of 10. I lied. It's a 20 out of 10. I'm even going to include like the last like 7, 8, and 9. A lot of people give them heat, but at the end of the day, I still enjoyed those movies. I will be doing videos on those. I actually do need to rewatch those because I know I've seen them and I remember liking them, but I don't have enough information on them to, I think, make a consistently good extra 3 videos on them. So I'm going to be rewatching them on Disney and everything like that just to get my refresher of what I want to do with those movies. But yeah, just stay tuned for those. There's definitely more Star Wars. I'm definitely not done here. For the longest time, this movie was the end of Star Wars. Like, and then, I remember hearing the announcement of a Star Wars Episode 7. I remember then hearing about them making the Han Solo movie. Endor, even I really kind of enjoyed The Mandalorian. I don't think I finished. I think they have 3 seasons. I don't think I watched all of season 3 yet, but I do want to do it. Like, there is definitely a lot more Star Wars coming to you guys, so stay tuned for that. I'm really excited to do that. I'm excited for you guys to react and watch them. And I want to know your opinion on all these movies. I love opinions. I love seeing points of view. So the more points of view I get on the movies and everything like that, I love reading it. I love enjoying it. Please comment and let me know what you guys thought of these movies as well. Like I said, guys, Star Wars is one of the greatest franchises of all time. It's definitely some of my childhood. It's most of my childhood. I remember having the little action figures, everything like that. I had a great childhood. So my childhood was fun as hell. So whatever. But yeah, like I said, like and subscribe to my channel, guys. Stay tuned for more Star Wars stuff. This Friday, I'm hoping to have a special guest on this show. He and we went and saw the new Superman movie. He was definitely more against like the movie. I kind of liked it more than he did. There were some things about the Superman movie that I didn't like, and I want to talk more about that. That's all I'm going to say in this video about it. Stay tuned Friday for my depiction or my thoughts and his thoughts if he even shows up, which I hope he does. But either way, regardless, I will be making a video on the newest Superman movie that just came out. I really liked it. We're going to get to that later, though. But like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos, guys. And always remember to have a fantastic day.